The quickest way to get to $10,000, $20,000, or even $50,000 a month is to be good at sales, and in particular, objection handling. Now, the reason for this is because it takes a particular set of skills to be good at this. You have to understand a little bit of psychology and what's going on here. But it's not a coincidence that the people who get paid the most money in any business is either the salespeople, if it's not the top executives. And this is because without these people, without this particular set of skills, then the business wouldn't make anywhere near as much money as it could do. So employing one of these people that's going to cost you, at least 6 figures, maybe not even multi 6 figures, is definitely worth it. And so in this video, I'm going to show you my exact objection handling framework, and in particular, something called the Smokescreen loop, which has helped me to close tons of clients, and I'm sure it will help you to close more too. So the first thing to note is that smokescreens are not true objections. So what we mean by a smokescreen is any sort of objection, basically anyone saying no to buying, which isn't related around the cost of the product, the logistics of the product, or the fact that there is a fear for themselves to actually go and buy the product. If it's anything else, then it's a smokescreen. The reason that prospects might give you a smokescreen and not just tell you what their objection is because either they are a little bit embarrassed to actually give you the real reason why, they don't want to be sort of disagreeable, or they might have told you some kind of lie initially at the start of the call, or maybe something that wasn't exactly true. And by them saying now that they can't afford it, right, they give you a money objection, it then kind of goes back on what they originally said because they told you they were making more money than they were originally. And so by them saying they can't afford it, it doesn't really make sense. And so just to break down the 3 objections, so we're super clear. So price is when the person is objecting to the sale because they do not have the money, or they do not want to spend the money that they have, right? They think it's too expensive. Logistics is usually around how the product is actually served. Also, for example, someone might say, I do like the product and I'm ready, but I'm not ready until next month. And obviously that's a logistical objection, so they don't want to go ahead right now. And then we also have fear. So fear is pretty tough to overcome. It's usually the toughest one. But this is when someone is afraid, right? They do not know if it's going to work. They're unsure. They do have the cash, but maybe they're not too sure if it's the right thing to do right now. Maybe it would be a bit of a risk to them to invest in the service if it doesn't actually work out. Okay, so those are the 3 real objections. And so if it's anything else, then you are dealing with a smokescreen. Now, the goal of this salesperson when you are dealing with a smokescreen is not to challenge the person and overcome this, right? If someone tells you they need to think about it, you're not going to ask them, why do you need to think about it? What's the reason for thinking about it straight up, right? What you're going to do is try to figure out what the real objection is. So the goal is not to overcome that objection, it's to find out one of the 3 that we talked about, right? Price, logistics, or fear. I've seen many sales calls from agencies that I've seen, a few clients that I've had where they try to overcome that objection that isn't a real objection. And so even if they do that, right, even if they overcome this, this fake objection, this smokescreen, then it's not actually going to advance the sale any further. So when we have our smokescreen and we know that it's a smokescreen because it's not one of the 3, this is what we do. This is the smokescreen loop. So first of all, we confirm what we do actually works. We ask in their opinion, do you think that we're going to actually give you the service that you want? Then we want to isolate the specific reason why. So we ask them why they actually think that, and we hope for a specific reason. Then we want to ask for clarification. We want to basically clarify why they are giving this objection if they believe a certain thing. And then if they're still giving us a smokescreen, we want to loop them back to the top. And when we go again, then we first of all make sure that what we're actually selling here, they think that it works, and then we go back down this process. So as an example here, if someone says, okay, I need to think about this one, I need to mull this one over, we then want to confirm that what we do actually works, at least in their opinion. And so we say this very specific language. Can I ask, in your opinion, before you do go and think about it, do you feel like we can get you to results, 10K a month, 20K a month, whatever it is that they're looking for? And so what we're doing here is we're confirming with them that this actually works, because obviously this is the most important thing. There's no point handling objections if they think that the service is terrible in the first place. They will then say yes, and I'll tell you what to do later if they say no. And then we want to ask, and we isolate the specific reason why. Why do you feel like it can? What makes you feel like it can? Now, note we use the word feel here. We don't use, think or anything like that. It's feel, because a lot of people can stretch to feel. Yeah, I feel like it can. It's not super certain straight away. It's not sort of blocking you off and saying, you're only going to say yes to this if you're absolutely certain that it is. By saying feel, you're basically allowing the person more chance to say yes. So we're changing a no, a think about it, slowly into a yes. They will then give you a very specific reason, right, related around your service. If they say something that is not related around the service, like let's say, you have great testimonials, you have a lot of confidence, while I believe you, that's not a specific reason. That's not a reason that we can sort of hang our hat on and say, okay, well, this is a reason that you think why it would work. So we need something revolved around the service here. I like the look of the Facebook ads that you do, or I like the look of the fact that you do the lead nurturing for us, whatever it may be. That's the thing that we're looking for. And we say, if someone says for you testimonials, for example, we can say, okay, well, that's obviously their story and their opinion. What about you? What makes you think that this service is going to work for you? And if they say, you're confident, or, I like the fact that you're really confident, then you can turn it around and say, I know that I'm really confident, but what makes you confident? What about my service actually works for you? And so when that's done, we've now been given a reason, a very specific reason that they think this is going to work. We can then ask them, okay, great. So when you do go and think about this, what is coming up for you that makes you want to do so, just to see if I can help with it right now? And what we're doing here in essence is we basically are saying, what do you need to think about? But now we've framed it in a way that they're given a very specific reason that it works for them. And so there must be something that is stopping them doing this, right? There must be something on their mind. The reason they need to think about it is because they need to think about something very specific, right? This might be the fact they need to think about their finances and check out their finances, right? So now we're dealing with a price objection. And so obviously this is the clarification step, right? We're clarifying why it actually is that they need to go and think about it, or they need to speak to their partner, or whatever it is that the smokescreen that they're giving us. And so if they continue to give you a smokescreen, if they say, I just want to think about it, that's what it is, then we go back to the top again. So we're looping back to the top. And now we're going to say, okay, so in your opinion, you do feel like we can get to this, right? Yes, I do. And you think that because, the lead nurturing, this very specific reason, right? Yes. Okay. Now that makes sense. So what is it that it's actually coming up for you that makes you want to think about it and not go ahead with this right now? And what you're doing now is you're digging in and basically saying, you've given me this very specific reason of why it works, but you can't give me a reason of why it doesn't work other than just the fact that you need to think about it, you need time. And if someone says, something along the lines of, these kind of decisions take time, or, this kind of decision takes time, you can flip it back on them and say, what kind of decision? What are you referring to here? Like, be a bit more specific. And so in that case, they might say, well, it's a lot of money, right? And so now we're talking about money. Now we're dealing with price. We're not dealing with this, I need to think about it. So we can actually hit the objection head on. If you've gone through 3 or 4 loops and the prospect still is not giving you the actual objection, and they're giving you a smokescreen, then you can literally just tell them, look, I know there's something else that's going on here. Just to be completely frank, sometimes if you pause the recording, it can add a little bit of effect in there, and you can just basically, it makes you seem like it's obviously going a little bit off record, and change your tonality and just say, look, I know what's going on here, right? I know there's something else. If you're not going to have a proper conversation with me about this, and we're not going to be honest about this, then I can't help you, right? And this is when people obviously will be a bit more open, and they'll realize that you actually know what's going on, and there's not something there. And so oftentimes if someone has been lying to you throughout the call, this can get them to basically clarify certain things, and then we start from the top again. It can take a bit of time, of course, but it's definitely better than just being given smokescreen after smokescreen. And so what happens if your prospect tells you that they don't feel, in their opinion, that your service can actually get them the result that they're looking for? So this is a really cool technique, right? And what you're going to do here is you want to flip it round on them. So we're talking about positives now. What are the positives of my service? And they're going to say, I don't think there is any, right? And so now you want to turn it around into a negative one. So when someone goes and says, for example, I don't feel like it is, you can say, is there anything missing at this point then? Is there anything that I haven't shown you today that you thought would be in there? Something like that. And if you frame it in a specific way, so you're asking them to basically, you're putting the onus on them to come up with something, 99% of the time they won't have an answer for this, simply because they don't know what is missing, right? And so basically they're going to say, no, there's nothing that's missing, there's nothing I add to this. And so now they've given you a bit of vote of confidence, right? And so then obviously you can go back down your process where you ask for clarification again. You ask them, okay, so what is it that makes you want to think about it, right? But if someone does give you something, for example, and the 1% of time that they do give you something where they say, this is what I would add, then they are giving you their own objection at that point, right? Because they're saying, this is the thing that's missing. And so maybe you could add something or talk about, or we do have this feature, it's baked into this, and explain a little bit more, right? And obviously you're going a little bit back into the pitch stage at that point, right? But you are explaining how the service actually works and how you can get them the kind of thing that they want. And so they do actually give you a legit objection there. It's not a smokescreen at that point. And so obviously this can work for basically any type of smokescreen. If you get a partner objection, you basically just want to go back down the same loop that we did. So you can say, I understand, I have a business partner myself, right? Can I ask, in your opinion though, do you feel like this can actually get you to the 10K per month, in your opinion? They'll say, yeah. You say, oh, cool. Why do you feel like it can? Then you can go down the partner technique. And so you want to also confirm as well that the partner would also want to get to that point. So we say, okay, do you feel like your partner would want you to get to this point? Would they be opposed to getting to this point? No, they wouldn't. They would want me to get to this point. And you say, okay, perfect. So in that sense then, what has come up previously, or what has previously halted your partner from going ahead with something like this in the past, right? You're asking for that little bit of clarification to basically give them some kind of objection. And so what they would do in a situation like this is they're going to tell you what their objection is, not what the partner's objection is, because they can't read their mind. They don't know what's going on in that partner's head. And so they're going to give their objection, right? So, okay, if maybe they think, for example, that it's too much money, they're going to say, if it's an expensive decision, we have to make this decision together. Okay, and now we're talking about price, and you can actually handle that objection head on. And so use these techniques, you're going to be able to cut through the smoke screens, actually get to your real objections, and it's going to give you a much higher chance to actually close these deals and understand what is going on in your prospect's head. And if you actually implement these properly, I have no doubt that you can see a pretty significant jump in your sales conversion rate, which of course means a pretty significant jump in the amount of revenue that you're making. And it's one of the only metrics really out there where if you double it, you're basically going to double the amount of revenue that the business is making, or at least, cash collected in that initial month. But yeah, if you're looking to sign more clients for your agency, click the first link in the description. It's not some email opt-in, phone opt-in, anything like that. It's literally just a video of me explaining what my company does, how we've done this many times before. But yeah, you don't have to click it, of course. I don't really care if you do or not. If you want to just watch these videos, then that is completely cool. But if you did like the video, then like the video and comment if you want me to cover anything specifically. Obviously, subscribe if you want to watch more and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, appreciate you watching this one to the end. Cheers.